Test 1, 2, 3. Worked. Okay, being 5 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone on this beautiful Saskatchewan day. I'd like to remind everyone that we're on Treaty 6 land in the home of the Métis and the Dakota. At this time, I'd ask everyone to rise and the city clerk to say the prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission, to act as responsible stewards, and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual traditions of all citizens of the city of Prince Albert. For this we pray, amen.
Thank you. Now with that, we'll go to the approval of the agenda, and we have some amendments, so I'll pass it to the city clerk.
Mayor Dion, we have a few council members that are away today. So we would request that items 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, and 17.3 be removed from the agenda this evening to allow those members of council to be in attendance when those items are considered. In addition, we have correspondence received from the president of CUPE Local 882, CUPE Local 882 to be added with the agenda for consideration with item number 1110. Those items are on the councillors' desks.
Thank you. So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Head?
I'll go ahead and approve that agenda, and I have a comment on that as well. Would you like me to read that out, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
That the agenda for this meeting be approved with the following amendments, and that the presentations, delegation of the speaker listed on the agenda may be heard when called forward by the mayor. 1, that item number 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, and 17.3 be removed and referred to an upcoming city council meeting for consideration, and that correspondence received from President CUPE Local 882 be added to the agenda for consideration with item number 1110.
Thank you. I remind everyone on Teams to make sure that you have your mute button on. Seconder? Oh, Councillor Cody.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Ready for the vote?
Kara,
Yes.
Kara Lennox up here.
Yes.
I just wanted to note that I also have a notice of motion on the agenda for today, and I'm also going to be requesting that my notice of motion be referred to an upcoming city council meeting as well.
Okay, do we want to add that now? Okay, I'll get you to do it at that time because
Certainly.
you're present because it's a motion. Councillor Zurikowski wasn't. Okay, so I've noted that. Okay, I'm prepping the vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Head. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. And I'm happy to see this agenda, and more so because I'm the mover of it, these items removed because of the 2 wards that aren't represented today.
Yes.
And the cost items of those items that we have listed there. So happy we're doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, the voting is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Closed, accept. Back. the green one, no? Oh, I see. Just press the green one. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. A declaration of conflict of interest. You all know what that is. If you have a conflict of interest, you declare it. Okay, I'll start with Councillor Miller. You had for a conflict of interest?
No, I was just going to read the minutes.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I have a declaration of conflict of interest here. Item number 1113, I'll be removing myself from that vote as I represent the workers of Share.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller?
Yes.
For adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. That the minutes of the council meeting, regular meeting held April 12, 2021, special council meeting held April 14th, April 21st, 2021, be taken, read, and adopted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Brodnick?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Head?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at the minutes, and I'm not asking to make any corrections, but I just want a clarification around unanimously carried, because it looks like some of those items that we had passed, they were unanimously carried. Whether or not it was listed as such, I just want to make a point of that, and a little bit of clarification needed.
Okay, thank you. Okay. With that,
Mayor Dion, when it is noted as carried unanimously, that is when the chair has actually indicated verbally that it has been carried unanimously. Those are indicated in the minutes. If the chair does not, it's not indicated.
okay, I'll remember that. Okay, the vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the vote is now closed. I got it. Okay, I had quite a few proclamations. So I'll start with the first one. Earth Day was April 22nd, 2021. National Denim Day was May 11th, 2021. National Volunteer Week, April 18th to the 24th, 2021. Canada World Purple Week is May 16th to the 22nd. Neuropathic Medical Week is May 16th to the 22nd. Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month is the month of May 2021. Be Counted Census Awareness Month, May. And May the 11th is the big hit day. Number 8, Community Cleanup Week from the 3rd till the 8th, and that's actually going on today. So I encourage people that we have 4 locations that you can drop off your goods and talk to your counselor. So with that, I'll move on to presentations. We have none. Public hearings, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Communications, we have none. Reports of administrations in committee. We have 11.1 Community Airport Partnership Funding Agreement. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move it. That the Community Airport Partnership Agreement between the City and the Provincial Ministry of Highways and Infrastructure be approved in the amount of $106,650 for cost sharing the funding of the following projects. A, runway 16-34 windsock and end markers, and B, buried wildlife fence 5.6 kilometers added to the airport perimeter fence, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
I'll second, Mayor Dion. Thank you.
Any questions, Councillor Head? This is the fence.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. And this is the report that I had mentioned, referenced earlier. Again, I want to say that, it's important. I know through this pandemic, our airport has been very busy, and it's good to see that we're keeping our passengers safe through this initiative, and it makes me happy when we're able to cost share on those items. So happy to support this motion.
Thank you. Okay, I'll prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Carried unanimously. So I close the vote, I'm accepting it. And I'm moving on to the next item. The next item is 11.2, Wastewater Treatment Plant Detailed Design Award. Councillor Edwards?
I'll move the recommendation that the professional services agreement for the wastewater treatment plant detailed design be awarded to AECOM in the estimated amount of $1,826,000 plus taxes, and two, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would second this motion, and I'd also like to provide a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
Again, I think through the budget discussions we've had earlier, that I was expecting this to come forward, and so happy to see that we're going to move forward on upgrading our detailed design of the treatment plant. I do want to point out a few things, I guess, credit to the planners and some of our staff. I see there's a $5 million cost save here, and which was signed off due to the phosphorus amounts that we're putting up back into the river. So happy to see that we're able to see a cost save. But I kind of want to point out the options to recommend, not award the contract or cancel the project. It's one of those Hobson's choice, I think, in this case. But, definitely willing to support this motion because it is needed in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder? Oh, you did, sorry. Sorry about that. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'm prompting the vote. The vote is open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously again. So it's closed. We're going to 11.9, Water Treatment Plant Loading Dock Extension. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the structural design, drawing, preparation, and construction inspection for the loading dock extension be awarded to AECOM for an estimated price of $5,830, including PST, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other necessary documents on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Miller?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Dion. I'll second it.
Okay. Oh. Discussion. I have a comment, and then I'll go to Councillor Head and then to Councillor Coleman. I will not be supporting this recommendation. Come on, people. It's a loading dock. We have engineers working for us. We have draftsmen working for us. We don't need a consultant for everything we build. It's an extension. Give me a piece of tissue towel and I can draw you 2 posts and a piece of cement to back up and to guard itself. We have more than the talent here, and that's why I won't be supporting this motion. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too will echo those comments. I was going more so the whole cost in general, looking at the financial implications. I mean, it said it was budgeted for, and I flipped through all those pages this week. I did not see this item on the budget item. And 4 months later, here we are looking at another $20,000. I'm not saying it's not needed. I'm not saying it's not required. But at this time, I can't support this additional $20,000. And I suspect that this will be a next year's budget item for this request, and we can consider it at that point. It speaks to safety of employees. And of course, I'm all about the safety of employees. And I hope that, with our current facility, which we've been operating under for many years now, we're able to do this job very safely, and I encourage the workers to do just that. But for today's motion, I'm sorry, I'm not able to support this, and I think it should be on next year's budget item. Thank you.
Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship, I also will not be supporting it. Number one, we do have engineers, and we have good ones, and I think they can handle that. I can tell you right now, all you'd have to do is ask a contractor to come in and they'll do it without any plans, and I don't think you need much of a plan. And secondly, I agree with Councillor Head. This was not a budgeted item, and all of a sudden it's here. I don't think it's that necessary at this particular time when we are scratching our heads and every other thing to find money, and I think this is not the time to do this. They can budget it, and in all likelihood it'll pass at budget time, but I don't think we should do it now.
Thank you. The other reason I'm not supporting it is during budget, I asked them, I'm getting tired every day, every time, the water treatment, is there anything else? And they said no. And now, all of a sudden, this item showed up. So, unfortunately, I can't support it. So, any other discussion?
Chair Lennox up here.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you're
Thank
going to
you.
have to, sorry, Lennox, you'll have to bark in. I sometimes know that you're there. I just sometimes forget. So, if I'm going to yell, just yell, and I'll put you in the queue. So, you're up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Question for the director. Two questions. One is, why is city administration recommending that we hire a firm to provide design for this item as opposed to it being done in-house? And my second question is, was this item considered at our last budget? And if not, why is it that it's coming now?
Thank you. We'll get the director online. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you very much for that question, Councillor. So, two things. It was part of the budget. It falls under operations, not capital, because it's a very small item. The operations budget for the water plant is well in excess of $750,000. So it was just a small item. We never bring forward these really small items as separate capital projects. The second item is the reason that we would be hiring consultants from outside of the city of Prince Albert is, yes, we do have a couple of professional engineers, but their stamps are not in structural. Just like doctors, dentists, eye doctors, you only can practice in the profession that you're qualified. So we don't have a structural engineer on staff, and this loading dock has to take the incredible weights of the chemicals that are being brought in. In 1962, chemicals used to come in 42-gallon drums. So you would roll them off with one of those fridge wheelers. Nowadays, the chemicals come in totes. These tote bags are over a ton in weight. And the structural engineer has to stamp that loading dock to ensure that it is safe. We're going to build it within our own workforces, but they need to draw it and stamp it. The present dock cannot or does not meet the needs of these large totes today, and it's kind of an occupational and health safety issue.
Okay, any
So
other?
if I could just,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead,
If I could
Councillor Zepp.
clarify then- Thank you, sorry. If I could just clarify then, the entire cost of this project is already accounted for within your operations budget? Is that what I heard?
That is correct. The full 20,000 is part of the operations budget. It was never a capital project because it's a small renovation to the existing dock from 1962.
Okay, and then just to clarify what I heard is that the city does not employ a structural engineer that would be required to create the design. However, the work of building the item would be done in-house. Did I hear that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, so then my comment is just based on what I've heard from the director, I would be in favor of this project. Thank you.
Okay, so if I read it right, the project's, the cost of the loading dock is 20,000. Am I reading that right?
yes, the cost of the design and the construction is $20,000 total.
So we're spending $6,000 on a piece of paper?
Unfortunately, that is the price that it costs to get professional stamped drawings to ensure that they're putting their liability insurance on the line, that this dock will not collapse under the weight of the totes.
Okay, and I'll ask this question again. I'll ask it every time. Is there any other items coming forward on the water treatment plant that we should be dealing with?
Well, Mayor, there's always lots of small items throughout the operational budget. As I mentioned, it's over $750,000. And every year there's always small items of a couple of $1,000s here or there that are upgrades to some kind of a chemical feed or programming or even a door lock. So there's always small items that are maintenance items that are always being improved so that the water treatment plant never fails.
Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, a couple of questions I think that arose from your comments, Director. The reasons why we're building or adding or fixing this dock is because of the chemicals that we are currently purchased, because I know there was a new ask by the water treatment plant this year and this council had approved it. I guess the second question, this is why this council passed the line-by-line budget for these incidents that I think is exactly that. This isn't a small amount. 20,000 is substantial, and we need to be more accountable, including our administration, when it comes to these asks.
Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't believe we're spending all this time on an item that is a safety issue. That's what the report says, and that's what the director said. It's a safety issue with employees and with the potential collapsing of a dock, a loading dock. I mean, and it's like $20,000 is a lot of money. I agree, it's a lot of money. But in the whole scheme of things, it's not a huge amount of money that we're spending on creating a safety issue for the workers. And that's what it's about. And so I would hope that we would support this. It's not a frill. It's not a want. This is a need for safety. And therefore, I think we should all support it.
Okay, any other discussion? I am prompting the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. It passes 4-3. Okay, I'll move to the next item, 11.4, landfill cell expansion tender award. If you want to bring the director in, because I know there's some questions. I can go ahead. Oh, there he is. Okay, Director, one of the questions I have is in the last couple of days I've taken quite a few loads out to the landfill. And I noticed we got 3 or 4 excavators working, some big dump trucks, some rock drunks, and we seem to be digging the new cell. And so it sort of caught me off guard that we've got all this work. But then I'm a little worried because when I was out there, I heard that we're actually moving an area where we piled cement, and we're piling it in another area that in the future we could be building another cell. So do you want to comment on what's all the activity going out where the new cell is going to be built? Because it looks like we got a pretty big hole there, and I thought that was going to be part of the tender. So if you could just explain what the work is going on and where is that work charged to, because we have a budget of 6.1 for this project, and this bid's here 5.8. So is it going to be within budget, and what are we doing out there?
Thank you very much for that question. So what we're doing out there is over the decades, a lot of activity has taken place. Some of it's recorded, some of it's not been. Then the rules continually changing from the Ministry of Environment of what we can and cannot do. In the past, there was concrete piled in the north sector, which would have been beyond what is cell 1A and 1B, I guess. That's the area that the new cell is going to be. So to keep some of the work moving forward and out of the tender so that the contractors, because it's an unknown quantity, which could cause the tender to rise in cost, we're using hired equipment, which is using our known hired equipment list that's put out every year. And we do have hired equipment come out to the landfill on occasion to do certain individual things. And in this case, they're moving some of the concrete in advance of the tender so the site is prepared. So that's being done under our operations budget and within the operations budget, not an addition to the operations budget. I could give you more information, or you can get more from the capital manager, who is also on the line if you wish.
No, that answered the question. Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Tara Lennox up here, I would request to make the motion
Okay,
that the landfill, cell 1B, cell 1A, and cell 2A expansion construction tender be awarded to Tervita Corporation for a total cost of $5,680,910.23, including PST. That the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other necessary documents once prepared.
thank you. Seconder? Councillor Head.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have some concerns with this expansion. I think it's something that's probably going to pass, but I do want to make note that this is a regional landfill. And I look forward to the new pricing that comes out here hopefully soon. And because this is on the, once again, it's on the backs of the Prince Albert residents and the commercial businesses. They're the ones that are going to pay it, and likely not the majority of the users. So I do look forward. I hope that once we have a review of the pricing out there, that it makes note that, you know, the residents and the commercial businesses of our community deserve the break when it comes out there. And those that don't contribute to this type of need for that, help pay. Thank you.
Thank you. And nothing's for sure till the vote happens. Councillor Cody?
Yeah, I'm sure it is going to pass, Councillor Edwards, and that's fine. I'm still not quite satisfied that we are doing this, because I think there's other means, there's other ways that we should be dealing with garbage these days, and I don't think we have taken very much of a proactive look at what is being done in other jurisdictions.
Yes.
I mean, if you go to New York, if you go to Chicago, I can tell you right now they're not making these landfill cells. They are doing other things with, and in fact, they're doing it on other coastal areas as well. A quick question here is how much is the PST? And I will know the answer, because it doesn't take much of a genius to know that. But I want to bring it to the attention of the public one more time, and I'm going to start asking this on every one of the programs that we have these days with regards to construction. The PST is 5%, and it goes right 6%, and it goes right into the coffers of the provincial government. On one hand, we get a grant from the provincial and federal government. On the other hand, they take it away from us. And I think the public needs to know this. The public needs to know what they have done by way of allowing that 2017 budget to continue on, and what they're doing to our construction industry and all of the things that we do in a city of our size. It's unbelievable, and it's absolutely ridiculous to think one government has to tax another. It's not right, and I think the public needs to know it.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I will reluctantly vote in favor of this. However, that being said, I wish or I hope that, as Councillor Cody said, that we try to look at reducing our use of the landfill. Like what more can we do? How can we be more creative in trying to reduce the amount of waste that's going out there? Is it, are people dumping their leaves and their grass cuttings in the garbage bins, and is that going out there? What's happening? And I hope that we could somehow come up with alternatives so that we don't have to keep doing this. We're fortunate that we got tons of room in Canada, for this, but it's not right. We're still putting way too much waste in the landfills that we have, and at a huge cost. And as Councillor Edwards said, we need to make sure that whoever's using this landfill, the municipalities, everybody that's using this landfill, the region, needs to help and start paying for the maintenance of this facility. And when we have to expand it, it shouldn't be on the taxpayers of Prince Albert. It's wrong that the taxpayers of Prince Albert are having to do that. Last point, I agree with Councillor Cody that no government should be taxing another government. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's what's happening in this province right now, and shame on the provincial government for charging us 6% on all of this construction.
Well, and I'll give you another example. As chair of the fundraising committee, we have to raise $6 million to pay the PST on the rink project. And that's it, $6 million. That's unheard of, Okay, so with that, I'll prompt the vote.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, Tara Lennox up here, if I could just ask you a question.
Yeah, no, you go ahead, sorry.
Thank you very much. Question for the director. What is the difference in pricing right now for residents of Prince Albert versus non-residents of Prince Albert using the landfill?
Thank you very much. Oops. Am I on?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger, for that question. So our rates are for non-members are double for what the city pays. Presently, if you were hauling by the ton, the city charges $73 a ton. And we did do our very best to look at all different kinds of incineration or garbage to fuel conversions or creating electricity. None of these companies were able to either A, give us a project that was with the size of Prince Albert versus something the size of Vancouver or Toronto. And two, none of them could guarantee us tipping fees that were less than $140 a ton. We're presently at $73 a ton. So that would mean our cost to the users, the taxpayers and the residents would double the monthly fee of just under $20 a month to $40 a month. So now, having said that, we'll continue to look for innovative ways to not add to that pile. You asked about the leave compliance in Prince Albert has been amazing. We very seldom find leaves in our garbage. People are really good about bagging their waste.
Thank you. Can I just ask, when you say non-members, can you remind me what that means for pricing? What does the phrase non-members refer to?
So presently, the city of Prince Albert, as part of the MRF, the regional recycling program, those people are also considered members. And then people who live outside of that zone are non-members. And we are bringing, now that we have the actual costs for this project, the consultant can move forward with the review of the fees, because now that once we have the capital costs, we know we'll input that into the calculations. And for the 2022 budget, we will be bringing forward new fee rate structures for residents members of the regional and non-members. And those other rates for members and non-members will be increasing.
Well,
Thank you very.
Director, should it not be residents and non-residents? Should it not be?
We can refer to it in the new fee rates that way, because I know the old one is rather confusing, and we can do that.
Well, and the other members that have been members, they didn't have that right under any agreement or document. So they've had lots of benefits. So the sooner we end that program and we go to two rates, residents and non-residents, then we'll start recovering the money that we need to operate our landfill. Okay, with that, I'm going to prompt the vote unless any other questions. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Zepp.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just briefly,
No problem.
that I know that we did have a past report about those ideas of that were listed by the director about trying to make some positive changes for our landfill. I just wanted to note that one other item that was in that report was also considered the idea of composting program in our city, and I'm hopeful that as time goes on that we may be able to find more cost-effective ways of providing and doing more and more composting to try to lessen the usage of those cells as well. And then lastly, sub 3 on the board, I meant to also, I didn't read that aloud, but I intended to. So sub 3 of the motion is budget contingencies would be determined by the city manager. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is now closed. The vote is now accepted. It passed 6-1. Okay. We are moving to the next item, which is 11.5, removal of trees. Councillor Head?
Karen.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. Councillor Head had it up, and then I'll go to you, Councillor Zepp.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Your Worship. These buttons do help to put us in the queue a little faster.
Yeah.
So I did, as you know, we had a lot of conversations, and this, I guess, issue, I would say, comes out of my ward. And so I did have a ward meeting this weekend and had some conversations through phone and online forums. I feel that the residents' voice should be heard here, and I do want to say that this motion as recommended has fallen short, so I'd like to include bullet number 7 on this one. So we have 6 up here. I would like to include 1 as well and try again. If you bear with me here for a minute, sorry about that. I do have it here. The inclusion would be that the city standards applied by Public Works when reconstructing existing streets be made flexible to allow for retention or existing surface works and boulevard trees in established neighborhoods when it is practically and desirable to do so. Is that for Sherry? Did you get that?
Speedy.
Okay. One more second then. That the city standards applied by Public Works when reconstructing existing streets be made flexible to allow for retention of existing surface works and boulevard trees in established neighborhoods when it is practical and desirable to do so.
Neutral signs.
Thank you.
And you're going to move the rest of the motion?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm moving on the motion, all 7 points I can go through if you like.
Yep. If she'll go back to number 1 then? Then I'll look for a seconder. No, I'm going to go to Councillor Zepp then. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I move that the update regarding the forcing action plan before the
What? Oh, you shut, sorry.
I did. Thank you.
Okay, you're live.
Thank you, Mr. Worship. I move that the update regarding the forestry management plan be afforded to the Community Service Advisory Committee as part of the 2021 Community Work Plan. 2, that the administration provide correspondence to the property owners adjacent to 2021 and future capital utility replacement programs by the first week of May each year, advising if tree removal or more than 3 trees per block is included within the project scope. 3, that the city's website provide a map indicating locations of the capital utility replacement programs. 4, that if discovered conditions result in the need to remove more than 3 trees per block, not previously identified in the May correspondence, that revised communication be provided to the property owner. 5, that administration provide annually to the city council meeting following April 15th, a report on the intended work plan for the capital paving and utility infrastructure replacement program for the construction season. And 6, that the city arborist be consulted prior to the removal of any trees by the Public Works Department. And I went ahead and said number 7.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp, you're up next.
Thank you. I'm happy to second the motion, and I just had a question for the director.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
Sub 6 refers to that the city arborist would be consulted, and my question for the director is, could city council expect, if that portion of the motion passes, sub 6 passes, could city council expect then that in the April report provided to us each year that the comments of the city arborist would be provided to council in that report, or does council need to make that more clear in the motion?
Good question.
Thank you for that question. In every single case, the arborist, the parks manager is always consulted. We've always done it in the past. Our department does not cut trees down independently. We don't have the equipment. We always call parks and they do the assessment to cut down the trees. So for that annual report, it would be an automatic that any trees that were going to be in that report for removal would have gone through the parks manager.
So my further question is, could we expect in that April report that there'll be the city arborist comments would be within that report, or would council need to make that more clear to say we wanted to hear from the city arborist in the report?
We can make sure that his comments are provided, so showing that he has reviewed the report and agrees with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a problem with number 4. If we could just look at number 4.
Can you scroll down, City Clerk?
It says that if discovered conditions result in the need to remove more than 3 trees per block not previously identified in the May correspondence, that revised communication be provided to the property owner. So are we saying in that if we're going to cut city trees down in front of somebody's house, we have to consult with the property owner of that adjoining property? So we have to cut a city tree down, we have to have the approval of the resident that lives next to that, even though it's not their tree. Is that what that's saying?
No.
Like, this is ridiculous. Exactly. Like, you know, this all came about in Midtown, and I want to repeat what I've said. $17,000 worth of improvements, including the replacement of lead pipes, were being made. And we have a handful of residents that are upset. You know, when anybody does any kind of changes in our older neighborhoods, Midtown, I mean, people do want to maintain that character. Well, just drive down that block. Drive down the 300 block and look at one house that has made some major changes. And I ask anybody in this city, does that represent the character of that neighborhood? And I'm not going to identify the house, but you know what? People make changes, and changes is inevitable. You know, and we had a lot of residents, and some of you said the other last meeting as well, that some residents actually liked all those trees coming down. It provided more light and safety. You know, that was a common point that was raised by, again, a handful of residents. So we don't know for sure what all of the residents, we've never been given any factual data on what does the residents feel about this, other than I think all of them are happy that they're getting those lead pipes replaced. I think everybody's happy about that. And it's costing $17,000 per house. That's what people need to hear. That this is what the city budgeted, over $1 million on this project. And we have some trees there that our city arborist said were rotten in the middle. They were posing a potential danger. I remember 1985 when that wicked storm came through and knocked the steeple off of St. Paul's Presbyterian Church, and trees along 12th Street were knocked down as well. I had bought a brand new car parked right in front of my parents' house and was just praying like heck that no branch would fall on that vehicle. But a lot of those trees did fall at that time, and that's again when some of the trees were replaced. So to say that we have to consult with that property owner on a city tree, I think number 4 is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That we're putting that in, and we're tying the hands of the Public Works Department to follow this because we have a handful of residents that raised an objection to that $17,000 per property improvements made. That's all I have to say. So, like, I want to support this, but not number 4.
Okay. Councillor Head again, please.
Thank you. So just to respond to Councillor Grodnick's comment, I mean, there will be a survey that I understand that will be passed around Midtown, and so we'll see those feedback here for City Council, and we'll be able to get a better sense on just how many people were upset. I know I got a mixed bag of reactions, but definitely, you know, I've been in communications with these residents, and I think the idea is that we're trying to communicate to the people on the block. So maybe it's that wording of property owner, because you're right, no one owns those trees. It's the city's trees, but I think the idea is that it's going to re-communicate our direction or our initiative to whether or not we're going to cut that tree down. So it's more around here's the update, here's what we're going to do, and I think that's likely what we're trying to achieve here is through this communication. So if I need to amend, a revised update might be instead of the property owner, that revised communication be provided. Period, maybe. So I'm willing to amend that if that helps people accept that. So, thank you.
Oh boy, that knocked everybody off the speaking list, except for Councillor Brodnick.
Yeah, just one point or one question then to Councillor Head. When you said the communication in Midtown or on 12th Street, like this affects 12th Street, these trees affected 12th Street, and anybody that drives up and down 12th Street, I understand that. We never had this kind of complaints on 10th Street, or I mean 11th Street, or 8th Street, I don't remember. This kind of backlash and bringing in arborists from Saskatoon, et cetera, et cetera. We never had that with any of the other improvements. People were happy to get rid of the lead pipes. So is this survey going to 12th Street, or is it going to all of Midtown?
Okay, before I go to you, Councillor Head, Councillor Zepp, you're the seconder. You have a problem with removing those words?
I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Councillor Head.
My belief is, I believe that it's the 12th Street, and I would hope that we're going to capture a little bit around the areas, because I understand there's going to be some future works in the years to come, so we want to get a sense on where people are landing on that work. So 12th Street for now is my understanding, but it should go further than that.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to make one statement just for the public that our city arborist doesn't cut trees down willy-nilly. It's like
Oh, God, no.
pulling teeth. When you think you need a tree cut down, he bucks it a little bit, no pun intended. It's difficult. So the public knows, like, we're just not slashing trees just because. Like, it's sometimes painful. He cares about trees immensely, and that's a good thing. And I just want to make sure the public know that we just don't go in and just slash because we can. That's not the fact. He would fight the other department for sure if that was the plan. No questions asked.
Thank you. Any other? I don't see anyone in the queue.
Tara Lennox up here.
Go ahead.
Question for the director, two questions. The first question is, who is conducting the survey? Is that something that the city is conducting or elsewhere?
I'm not aware of this survey.
Nope.
Okay.
Just Councillor Head's going to answer or
Thank
comment.
you. Thank you, Your Worship. And yes, Councillor Lennox Zepp, my understanding, the residents will be taking this on and be circulating around 12th Street. So it's the residents' initiative. Very passionate people down in Midtown.
Oh, so I have a question. Is it a pro-resident or a no? Like, I won't accept that survey. It's not independent. Sounds like an Arizona recount. Yeah. Councillor Zepp, did you have anything else? You had two questions, you said.
Yes, second question for the director. Sub 4, is sub 4 or any part of this motion intended to require consultation or agreement from residents, or is sub 4 intended to be communication like a letter in the mailbox?
Thank you for that question. So the way I would read it is it would be notification. So in the case of a street that maybe we didn't think we were cutting down any trees, and then when we got there and started doing the water and sewer and realized that one of the services lined up directly with one of the trees, we would send out another communication to that property owner to let them know that that tree had to come down to replace their lead service.
Perfect. Okay, so it just sounds like, better communication so that the residents are aware. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, ready? I have no more questions, so I'm prompting the vote. The vote is open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, now we're going to jump all the way down to now 11.10, monthly utility billing request for funds. What's council's wish? Councillor Cody?
Yeah, I think this is necessary. You can't let the bills sit there and do nothing with them. And if we can't handle it internally for a period of time, I think we have to handle it externally. We're certainly not going to leave the bills sit and wait. And if the machines don't work as well as they should, then I think you just simply have to deal with it. So I will move that an external provider be contracted to print, stuff, seal, and apply postage to monthly utility bills for the remainder of 2021 at a cost of $8,400 to be funded through the operational savings realized.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion?
I'll speak on it.
Go ahead, sir.
Thanks. And I just would encourage people to go to e-billing for their utility bills. If you're my age or younger, you should be doing that. It's easy. You get a monthly bill right on my phone. I come here and pay it right away, or you could even you could do it online as well, paying it. So it would save the city postage, etc., and all this extra work. So encourage people to do the e-billing. Thank you.
Yeah, and we just couldn't afford to buy the equipment. I realize we have to buy new equipment, but in this budget, there wasn't funding for it. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'm not in favor of this, and for a few reasons I think I spoke before. Firstly, I mean, we moved to water monthly billing in 2017, and I'm shocked that we're still here 4 years later talking about short staffing. There's money's put aside for this position, and it should be hired for such. I'm looking at, again, we've seen a theme from budget. We didn't see this ask. If anything, the director had asked for 40,000, and this council said no. And here we are considering $8,400. And I questioned to the director is, where does this money come from? How did you find $8,400 now? So that's the one question, I guess, that I ask. And then also the consultation. We have a letter on our desk, as you know, from one of the working groups here in City Hall. And they're saying the exact opposite of what our director is saying, that the consultation was simply more of an announcement, and they are not in favor of it. So I think there's some work to do before we move forward on this. And I question about the current mail. What about all the other mail we're doing in the City Hall that's going out? Are we going to contract all the other mail services as well? There's letters leaving here daily. And so I would say that would be part of the workload for the staff here in City Hall. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Miller? Oh, did she shut it off? What happened? Okay, just I'm gonna let the media come in. You gotta stand where I can see you. Thank you. I can't queue. I got her queued. We'll come back. I'll come back to you. We'll get the question. Thank you. Councilor Miller?
Yes, thank you. I do have documents from 2018 budget here that we did hire a union person for this position at $79,980. I would like to know as well, so are we taking that money out of that budget to date? Is that what we're doing? And are we canceling this position? What are we doing here? I would like to know. Because if it's in this budget, that means we've hired this person already. And where is this person to do this job?
Okay, thank you. Do we have the director online? Because we also have another question coming forth from Councilor Head.
I am here.
Go ahead then. Go.
So thank you for the question. I'm hoping everybody can hear me, but I can't see anybody. So,
Well, that's fine. We can hear you.
okay, so 2018, there was, from what I understand, there was a budget item. However, it was an allocation from the general fund to the utility fund. There was no new position that was actually created. So it was just an allocation of personnel from the general fund to the utility fund.
Okay, so it was just the charge back.
Right.
So is that person supposed to be doing that job, or how does that actually work in your department? And I really can't wait for that review we actually get to do in this department, because
Yeah.
I just have a real feeling it's not working right in there.
Okay.
Okay, so it was a chief clerk that I believe, from what I can see, was allocated, the wage was allocated to the utility fund. There was no new position, and yes, in 2018, that chief clerk salary was allocated to the utility fund, and that was indeed for that year going forward.
Thank you. We have a follow-up. Councilor Head had a question and you weren't there, so go ahead, Councilor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. Where is this $8,400 coming from, Cheryl, Director? Because I know you put your budget forward, and we had council, this body had denied the $40,000 request at that time.
So at one of the things at the executive meeting I had mentioned is that we will be having cost savings of approximately $4,300. And the other $4,000, I believe we can find within the existing operating budget to cover.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'm prompting the vote. The vote is now open. Counselor Zepp?
No.
I still need 2 more people to vote. Oh. Okay, the vote is defeated. Okay, we're going to the next item, which is the 11.11 Neighborhood Notice Follow-Up. Oh, sorry. Councilor Miller?
That administration continue sending copies of notices being sent to the neighborhood to the members of council before they are sent out, or at a minimum, at the same time they have been sent to the residents.
Thank you. Councilor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I second this as well, and just a comment if I can.
Go ahead.
You know, this is, I think this is an important motion for us to be aware of all the issues, because at times we get calls from not just our constituents in our wards, but within the city. So I think this is very helpful moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to prompt the vote again. Voting is now open. Councilor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm missing one. Someone, thank you. It's now closed, it carried. Now accepted. And I'm moving on to 11.12, Social Media, Media Relations and Public Statements Policy. Oh, sorry. What's council's wish? Councilor Edwards? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Also move that the social media relations and public statements policy be approved, and 2, that the social media relations and public statements policy replace the social media policy number 59 of 2014.
Thank you. Seconder? Go ahead, Councilor Miller.
I'll second, Mayor Dion. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion, Councilor Hood. Oh, sorry, Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. You know, I spoke against this policy a few times now, and I'm just going to try one more time because I'm not in favor. And I want to use our Communications Master Plan of 2017 as a reference. So goal number 1, the closure of a facility, the opening of a new facility, the start of a major or disruptive infrastructure project, and the increase of rates and fees are all examples of areas that have a direct impact on residents. It is these areas that proactive communication become most important, but this can only be successful if the entire organization and each employee participates in the communication process. Employees need to start identifying potential sensitive areas in advance, identify the information that will assist people in understanding the issues, and using different methods to communicate that information. The role of communication plays in achieving this is largely through education and training of its employees, not necessarily in policies, I would say. If we have issues that we need to address with our employees, then we address it on a case-by-case basis and not on an overall policy that affects everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I see nobody else in the queue, so I'm prompting the vote.
Chair Lennox,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No,
Thank you.
go-
I just wanted to raise concern with one section of this policy. It is section 6.07 of the policy, titled Public Statement. And it indicates that this policy may include presentations made to City Council or committee or community forums. And I just raised that because I'm hopeful that we consider a bit more clarity on that issue. I don't believe it's the intention of this council to discourage employees of our city from raising concerns to City Council and And so I just wanted to raise that. I'm hopeful that we get some future clarity on that, how to do that, how employees can do that appropriately. Thank you very much.
Thank you. They can come and speak at council. Okay, I see nobody else in the queue, so I'm going to prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
No.
Thank you. Carried 5-7. So I'm closing and accepting the vote. And I'm moving to the next item. And Councillor Head, you were excusing yourself?
Yes. Should I go to the main hall or to the?
Yeah, you can just go in the lounge. And then we'll come get you. Thank you. Okay, we're on 1113, land sale, 1650 6th Avenue West to Share Community. What's your wish, Council? Oh, Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you. I'll move the motion that the offer to purchase from Self-Help and Recreation Education PA, Inc., also known as SHARE, for the city-owned land located at 1650 6th Avenue West for the amount of $32,000 be approved. And 2, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the sale and development agreement and transfer authorization on behalf of the city once prepared. And I'll speak on it after.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Yes, I'll second it, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you. I don't
Great
have a
deal.
problem selling this city-owned land. It's not parkland. It's not green space. It used to be the old brewery. That's what it used to be. And, you know, I know a couple years ago, Share partnered with actually my horticulture class, and we planted a community garden in that area that they're talking about, and then provided food to various agencies, And so I think Share is a great organization in Prince Albert. I think they're going to make good use of this land. I don't know exactly, you know, what they're all going to do for sure, but I think it would be in our best interest to sell this land to this particular organization and have them develop it. Thank you. It's right now sitting doing nothing, so thank you.
Growing weeds. Yeah, weeds. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I second the motion, and you know, one of the amazing things to me is it says the city's assessed value is $324,000. Where in the heck would they get that figure from? I mean, Krakalowicz says it's $144,248. That's in 2009, and it wasn't worth it at that time either. So I don't know where these people come up with these figures, but I think $32,000 for that piece of land, which is grown up in weeds and what have you, I think is pretty good. And I think they will put it to good use. Share is a good organization.
Yes.
And I think they'll put it to good use, and so I'm certainly in favor.
Thank you. Okay, I see no one else in the queue. Councillor Zepp, did you have any comment?
Just that I am in favor of this and the work that that Share does. This is great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm prompting the vote on the land sale. The vote is open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. It's closed. It's passed unanimously for the 6 of us that were in the meeting. Can someone get Councillor Head? So we're moving to 1114, request for municipal reserve. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a motion. And that motion reads that the license agreement between the City of Prince Albert, Ryan Wicks, Jacqueline Wicks, for the portion of municipal reserve described in the attached location, which I'm going to amend, be approved for a term of 5 years from May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2026, with an annual lease rate of $250 plus GST. And the amendment that is in the diagram, they requested 55.8 by 50, and 50 takes it basically to the edge of the trees. And that, I would like to amend the diagram to 55.8, which is the width of the property stays the same, by 25, so half of the amount. And if I get a seconder, I'll talk to that.
Okay, you guys shut your light off.
Sorry.
Counselor Head?
I'll second that motion. And I have a comment, so if you want me to wait, or?
Yes? Did you have a question, Madam Clerk? Okay, discussion? Counselor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. And the reason I came back with this is, well, I look at a variety of properties that are in the city that have moved several feet out into different properties. And I heard the other day, that's okay, which I'm not necessarily in agreement that that's okay, but a lot of residents are doing it. And here's a gentleman that, a family that says, you know what, I would like to lease it. I would like some extra space. And he wants to pay us for it instead of just inching and taking and not offering the city. And I went and had another look at the property. This is space that the city does not take care of. It's a couple of neighbors that take care of this. Otherwise, for a lot of years, this was just under weeds and overgrown. And that's the truth. And so I really have no issue. This isn't going to impact emergency vehicles that was stated in some of the letters, because emergency vehicles have no use to go back there. Utility trucks might go back there because they can. And that's part of the reason that, maybe we look at half. But this does allow the Wicks family to expand their yard a little bit, to offer their kids a little safer of an area by putting a fence up. And the lease controls what can go in there. And that's the big point here. And he's not going to be able to put a garage up. Number one, it's not going to be even big enough now. Number two, the lease says you can't build X amount of sizes of buildings in there. That's protecting the city. And if this was utilized green space for the public, I might not support it, but it's not. It is used by the residents that are there. No question. Some of them utilize it. Some of them, one neighbor 2 doors down fertilizes the area. It looks nice. But if they move, this whole area could be, it certainly wouldn't be maintained. And so I spoke to some of the neighbors. I spoke to some of them that are across the street. They all can't believe that it wasn't supported, because it's generally just overgrown at times through many years. And that's why I'm bringing it back. I think that the Wickses are certainly looking to, they want to stay there. They probably looked at their house one day and realized, you know what, we would like to fence this in. We'd like to have a pool for our children, and they need a fence. They require that if they're going to do that. I think that's maybe the intention. And I don't think we're cutting into too much of city land, because it's just, if our lawnmowers go past, they don't go in there and cut it, period. And if there was a problem with the utilities and with emergency vehicles going back there, our planning director would have said, you know what, I don't support the lease, but it did support the lease. That's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, I again will not support, can you shut your light off, please?
Absolutely.
Again, I will not be supporting your motion, strictly because you're opening a can of worms. I did also talk to the neighbors, and the neighbors emphasized what he put in his letter, that if you're going to allow Mr. Wicks, we want the same opportunity. So I'm not prepared to give up any green space in our city, whether it's used or it's not used. It was designed as green space because we don't want to be all cement and asphalt. And I do appreciate the work that the neighbors do on that piece of property, but they share it. Like you just said, the one neighbor fertilizes it all. They share that property. And I don't agree with putting up a fence. And I'll give you an example. I wished I lived in that neighborhood because I'd take that opportunity if this passed to increase my yard size for $250 a year, no taxes. Huh. I would step at that. And I just can't support it strictly because you're going to set an ugly precedent and we're going to get all kinds of requests to intrude into our green space. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Councillor Edwards brings up a lot of really good points, very valid points of why we should support this. You know, it's a family, etc. You know, having you know, a safe place for the kids to play, fencing it, etc. On and on. Those are very valid points. However, the problem is exactly what the mayor said, is that if we allow this, we have to allow everywhere else. We cannot say no anywhere else. And I'm looking at just my ward, Ward 5. I mean, along 22nd Street, where Brock Place backs on to 22nd Street. Those residents could extend an extra 25 feet there. Cowan Drive, or not Cowan, yeah, Cowan Drive, same. I mean, in Crescent Acres, you know, like all of those places that are backing on to green space. We can't say no then. We have to allow this. And this would be an absolute nightmare, number one, of all of the requests that we'll get. Secondly, is just administering them all, like drawing up all these legal agreements for this, and then the collection of all the money. So I just don't think that this is in the interest of the entire city. I think that if you want a bigger yard, then, you know, you've only lived in this place, from my understanding, 3 years. They've only lived there 3 years. That's my understanding from, I think, what the letter said. Maybe you should, I'm not going to tell people where to live or not to live, but if I had a yard that didn't satisfy my needs, or a house that didn't satisfy my needs, then I would be looking elsewhere in this beautiful city to find a property. And so therefore, maybe that's an alternative for them. I'm not telling them what to do or not to do, but I just think that we're going to create a huge headache for all of us in the city. And this is not in the best interest of the city to give reserve land or lease reserve land to be fenced for one family to enjoy.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did support the 50 feet motion, and I'm supporting this one today as I seconded. You know, I did go, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll just touch on a few points. I did go there, and I felt like I was in their backyards. And I guess my point is, I don't feel this would be opening up a case of work. We'll be addressing or assessing it on a case-by-case basis, I would hope. And we already have accepted lease in this chamber since my term here on council, at least a couple of them already. So, yeah, again, I'm supporting this motion. I feel that this space, as much as it is city property, is not used as city property. And these residents have been using it for their personal use. And again, I'd feel like I'd be intruding, stepping into that backyard there, because it is part of their property.
Thank you. Okay, I'm ready for the question. Okay, we'll continue the discussion. Do you have something new to add, Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I appreciate closing. Some of the letters against spoke about, you know, he is a good neighbor. He is a good neighbor, and they all said that. You know what? He is a good neighbor. He takes care of his property. He's got a home-based business there. He doesn't park across the sidewalks. He's not infringing on different things, you know? And he's not complaining that others are using it for free. He wants to pay. He's not complaining. He's not bringing it forward and saying, you know what? These guys aren't paying. He just wants to pay us. And he wants to do things right. And that's why I brought it back. I can't fault the guy for it. I can't. And, you know, I appreciate the fact that he does that and maintains his yard and all of that thing. And one big thing that differentiates this between a lot of the other properties is the city doesn't maintain this area. They don't bring anything back there. They don't do anything. We just drive past. It's an unknown virtually to the city. So that's why I'm bringing it.
Now, just to clarify that, we have all kinds of parcels of land that you just described that through our city that are public reserves that we do not touch because they're called natural public reserves. That's the way it is. We've got them on 15th Avenue, we've got them on 19th, we've got them all over our city. And that's why I can't support it. We got it all over our city. And I'll tell you, if I lived on one of those reserves and if I could get double my yard for $250, I'd be applying to the city, and it is going to be not one-off. Because the first thing I'm going to say to you, Councillor Head, is I want you to move the motion, Councillor Head, because you supported the other green space. And you just opening up a can of worms, so I just can't support it. Just Councillor Brodnick, and then I'll go to the
Yeah,
vote.
just one quick point. Like I know that the residents all there maintain and look after this land, but if you live in Midtown, the boulevards, the city doesn't look after, and you have to cut those. And when you have an aging parent that owns several property, like you're doing double yard work here, and I know it's a lot of work, but residents right across the city maintain city-owned land for the city. So but I hear you, Councillor Edwards.
Okay, I'm prompting the question. Okay, the vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
No.
The motion carries 4-3. So get ready. Well, I'm gonna go find a piece of land. Okay. We're moving on to bylaw number 9. Landscaping requirements for M1 heavy industrial zone. Whoop. Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. That bylaw number 9 of 2020 be read and introduced the first time that administration approved the notification to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Councillor Bodnick.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Bodnick.
Just very quickly, this is the motion that was brought forward in the heavy industrial area to relax the landscaping requirements. That's what this motion's about. And I thank the director for bringing forward the options and the improvements to this particular area. This, I think, was M1. It was called, so that in North Industrial, you know, that's across the river where there's a heavy industrial. It doesn't make sense for us to have all of these requirements of landscaping and trees and all this kind of sidewalks, all this kind of stuff. And therefore, this should help the property owners in that area maintain the area and move forward with relaxing these landscaping requirements that we require in other commercial and industrial areas of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to prompt the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Director, sorry, City Clerk.
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 9 of 2021 to amend zoning bylaw number 1 of 2019 to amend the landscaping requirements in the M1 heavy industrial zoning district. The bylaw is for first reading only.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp? Oh, sorry, Councillor Miller.
That bylaw number 9 of 2021 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Oh, and I have first reading on here. All right. It's now open. Counselor Zepp,
Yes.
thank you. Waiting for one more. Well, we got it. Thank you. Motion carries. Now moving to 1116, lease agreement, bioreactor site buildings. Counselor Edwards? You pushed it before you.
I'm sorry, it was, nobody else was pushing it. So
Nope, that's why I like it, prompts it, so. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Also move that the lease agreement between the city and Garden River Contracting Limited for 2 buildings located at the former bioreactor site in the RM of Buckland be approved for a 5-year term commencing June 1st, 2021 to May 31st, 2026. 2, that the lease rate be $17,718.24 plus GST commencing on June 1st, 2021, and an upward adjustment of 2% per annum be applicable on each anniversary date set as the first date of June. And 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Counselor Head?
Thank you, your worship. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question of the director or who somebody wants to. There's lots of activity happening in that area now. It's the area of the Buckland light industrial area. So if we get an offer to purchase this piece of property or another opportunity like that comes available, is there a clause in the lease agreement that we can terminate the lease agreement with notice?
Thank you, Mayor Dion, for the question. Yes, we'll ensure that the lease agreement does have that out clause with sufficient notice to the PC.
Yes, because I know there's been quite a bit of interest in that area, and I wouldn't want to lock us up if we could get more industrial in our thing. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'm prompting the question. Vote is now open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. Accepted. 1117, mass notification system. Counselor Edwards?
Also move that the core platform service agreement between the city and Everbridge Inc. be authorized to expire on June 11th, 2021. 2, that the fire department, in partnership with the communications manager, inform PA Alert subscribers and the general public of the cancellation of Everbridge and provide direction and education on the provincial mass notification system, also known as Sask Alert.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Brodnick?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll prompt the question. Question is now open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, carries unanimously. Thank you. We move to 11.18, Destination Marketing Levy 2021. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the destination marketing levy annualized rates authorized to be charged to hotels in Prince Albert by the city's property tax bylaw number 7 of 2021 be reduced in 2021 by a factor of 50% under each tiered level of assessed value due to the current pandemic crisis, based on the city's expectation of a reduction of events to be held in the community and a reduction of hotel rooms being rented.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, I want to say a couple points on this. I was shocked to see this in the agenda item, actually, because I know we spent days and days talking about this bylaw. And our city manager sat quiet without having, because I see the report is written by Jim Toy, and he didn't raise this as a consideration of ours at the time, when we're talking about police base tax, when we're referencing, isn't this amendment captured under bylaw 7? Sorry, you're shaking your head, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, this wasn't raised, we just went through the policy that spoke to the assessment rates, and why wasn't this brought forward, I guess, so I'm not in favor of this motion, because this was looked at already by this council, and we moved on this item, I thought, through those deliberations, so I was a little surprised to see this here.
No, how it got here is, last year, this council made a motion to suspend it for 1 year, and it was actually in the letter that we sent to all the hotels, supposed to kick back in January 1st of this year, and some of them have been collecting. But we reviewed what the events are coming up and what we had, and we realized that we can still help them out, that because of vaccinations, we won't be having events till towards the end of the year. So that's why it came back at only charging half a year, and we've got responses from all the hotels.
Thank you again. I wasn't sure, you know, when I was on council last year, and I know we discussed bylaw number 7 at some great length, and I thought this should have been addressed at that point, and it wasn't. So that's why I'm shocked that it's here today, and for that reason, I'm not supporting that.
Yeah, the only reason it's here, it's to be cut in half. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been coming here, it would have been the full year. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you. Yeah, the destination marketing levy is a fund that the hotels collect, and it goes into a pool. It doesn't fund police or anything like that. What it does is it just funds basically community events that draw people into the city that put heads in beds, meaning heads, hotel rooms. And so any organization in Prince Albert that's having an event, they apply to the Destination Marketing Levy Committee, the DMF, and there's a criterion, and if they meet all of the requirements, they get anywhere from $1,000 to $250,000. Anything over $10,000 has to come to council. Anything under $10,000, the committee can make the decision right there and then. The committee has decided they give 60% of whatever the group is asking up front, and then when they prove that they have had people in hotel rooms, then they get the remaining 40%. So we've funded, you know, anything from ball tournaments to provincial archery to national archery, all kinds of high school events. When groups are coming to the city, we know they're renting hotel rooms, so those high school groups will get $1,000, help pay for the medals or help offset some of the costs of those tournaments. The idea is to promote our hotels, promote Prince Albert, and help those groups that are being good ambassadors, good promotion people of our city, help them out a little bit. And the people staying in the hotel pay it. It doesn't cost the city anything. It doesn't cost the hotel anything. It's the people that are staying in those hotel rooms pay that extra little levy, and then we distribute it to the various groups.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarity purposes, we charge the hotels a fee at the beginning of the year per bed that they have. That's how it works? It's not.
No.
Is it not? We charge it per hotel room that's rented.
No, they charge it per hotel room. We're not allowed to dictate that. They do. We charge them a lump fee during taxation, and then they collect it. They figure it out how much it costs per night, and they collect it from the people that stay there.
Thank you. And that's why I support this motion, is because we're charging them X amount of dollars, and they're not able to collect that this year. I mean, the people aren't staying. They're just not there. So I absolutely agree with everything Councillor Grodnick said. This is a wonderful fund. It's brought events to our city, and it's going to bring many more events to our city. And thankful that we put this in place a number of years ago.
Well, one of the hotelers, and I believe Councillor Head said it to me, this fund is actually funded from people outside our city. This is actually a fund that's not paid for by us because locals don't rent hotel rooms. It's so people that are coming to stay. And just so you know, we've already had our first meeting this year, and we're already starting to give out money because things are starting to move forward. Councillor Head.
Thank you, and I apologize for, being new on the council.
No problem.
And I thank you, Councillor Grodnick and Edwards, for clarifying that for myself and probably for the public as well. So
Yep.
In that case, I will support the motion. Thank you.
No, that helps. Okay, I'm going to cue the question. Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa. That went too far. Okay. The question is open. Councillor Zapp?
No.
Thank you. It's closed. It passed 6-1. So I'm going to move to the next item, 10.19. Composition of the Prince Albert Municipal Library Board. Oh, Councillor Edwards left. What's Councillor's wish? You don't have to move it. It can die on the order paper. Okay, with that, I'm going to say it. Oh, Councillor Cody.
Sure, why wouldn't we move it? It's a good resolution.
Well, it brings it to 7 instead of 8.
Member just quit, so why not? That the composition of the Prince Albert Public Library Board consists of the mayor and 6 members as appointed by City Council and in accordance with the Public Libraries Act 1966.
Councillor Miller.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you. I was hoping this would die here, but I guess I should speak against it. Not willing to support it. I think as our committees, as with a full complement of our members and especially citizens from Prince Albert, to fill these spots are my preference, and I think likely get the most value out of those discussions having a full complement. So I'd like to see it with the 8 members, including 8 members with the mayor, so 9 in total. So I'm not supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you. I know we're bound by the Public Libraries Act, but,
Yes.
But I would have, and that prevents us from having more council representation on that board.
Yes.
When we were part of the regional libraries, we could have more. We had 3, and now we can only have 2 members. We had 3 or 4 members before.
Yes.
And now it's 2, which is unfortunate because this is a $2 million budget that that I wish council had a little bit more say in the board. I know the board has been very good, and the director there, Alex, has been very, very good, making sure that money isn't wasted, etc. It's just it's a large, amount of money, and we only have 2 representation. The arts board that I'm on, there's $25,000 budget, 1 council representation, so it just doesn't seem equitable.
Okay, with that, and there's no one in the queue.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Zapp.
Thank you. Just one question. I believe the question would be for the city clerk. I noticed in the report that it indicates that all of the members of this board, as per the provincial regulations, must be electors in the city, so must be eligible to vote in the city. I just wanted to confirm that we as a city are complying with that provincial legislation and that is happening.
Yep.
Councillor Lennox Zepp, good question, and I believe, yes, we are.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, I'm going to prompt the question. The vote is now open. Councillor Zapp.
No.
Thank you. Carried 5-4. Oh, sorry, 5-2. How did I get 4? Okay, and we're moving to 11.20, proposed election amendments. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I think that the election was handled extremely well this time, and under very trying circumstances for two reasons. One, of course, Mother Nature didn't help us a lot, and number two, I think we had some pretty scary times when you have an election 2 weeks within each other, a provincial and civic.
Absolutely.
So those were trying times, and I think in all, they did a good job. And I've gone through this report quite seriously because I think there are amendments that are needed. And so I agree with what the city clerks are doing. So I move that the city clerk, in collaboration with Saskatchewan Association of City Clerks, recommend to the Provincial Minister of Government Relations that the proposed amendments as outlined in the attachment be considered in regards to required amendments to the Local Government Elections Act 2015, and that the mayor forward a request to the Provincial Ministry of Government Relations requesting that the Local Government Election Act 2015 be brought forward for review of amendments immediately to ensure that all required amendments to both the Act and regulations are finalized by January 1st, 2023, and that the mayor bring forward the recommended legislative amendments as outlined in the attachment to the mayor's caucus meetings for their consideration in reviewing potential amendments to the Local Government Elections Act 2015.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second this, and I have a comment as well, please.
Go ahead.
Well, and I support this motion because I know in this last election and the days we had restricted a lot of people. And I won't say it's the worst voter turnout that we've had in previous elections, but it was a poor showing for sure. And I would be best to have everybody involved and participate in our election. So moving it out of because I can already predict in November 23rd, 2024, we're going to have a blizzard. I can say it already because it's likely the case. So I think moving it away from those winter months would be beneficial for our city, and more people would be able to participate in an election. And further, I guess I would like to see us look at amendments to the Cities Act and lobby our provincial government to make those changes, because we run into issues with the 21 days threshold, with some of the bylaws we're having. So I'd like to see us actually expand on these efforts and look at the Cities Act as well and look at some changes we can make there. Thank you.
Thank you. And if this passes, I'm going to be on the government consistently, because I just don't understand the government. For some reason, they want to do the amendments 7 or 8 months before the election, and then it causes our city clerk to go crazy because she's got to get ballots, she's got to get printed, she's got to give notice. And I just don't understand the provincial government. We should be debating this now, and it should be settled. We know in 3 years we're going to have a provincial election. We know in 3 years we're going to have a federal election and a provincial election. So deal with it today, not in the 11th hour. And I'll tell you this, I am so disappointed in that last election. We warned them and we warned them and we warned them. And unfortunately, our member, provincial partner, did not help us. So we're not relying on them as mayors. We're going to push the issue forward, because there's no reason why we can't amend the Election Act this year, so then in 3 years we know what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to prompt the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. This one passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Um, 11.21, municipal multi-year policing strategy, Prince Albert Police Service. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the proposed estimates for the multi-year proactive policing strategy as attached be approved. 2, that the city transfers to the Prince Albert Board of Police Commissioners the funding amount of $554,000 annually be directed to proactive policing strategy for the Prince Albert Police Service. And 3, that the unspent funds from the city transfer of $554,000 annually be forwarded to the Police Service Proactive Policing Reserve created specifically to fund the proposed 6-year, multi-year proactive policing strategy for the Prince Albert Police Service.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Head,
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second this motion.
go ahead. And comment? Anyone?
Okay.
Councillor Head, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to see this report, and I mean, definitely much needed in our community. So, you know, I look forward to the challenges coming up, and, you know, interested to see what the commissioner boards will be coming out with this new initiative we have supported here. So, thank you.
Thank you. I see no one else in the queue. So I'll.
Chair Lennox up
Go,
here.
go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question. Likely it's for the city manager. Looking at sub 1, could it please be advised what those proposed estimates are?
Clerk, can you bring it back up so we can?
Thank you for the question, Councilor Lennox, up to the chair. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to give you numbers on that right now, but certainly I can speak with the city manager on his behalf and get you those numbers in a timely fashion.
Thank you. I read the report, but I did not see anything that would be the proposed estimates in sub 1. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, and we'll get that information. Okay, with that, I'm prompting the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
No.
Thank you. It passes 5-2. Councillor Zepp and Councillor Miller. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the list. 11.22, request for support of delivering community power from the postal workers. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move this motion that the city endorses the Delivering Community Power campaign and forward correspondence to the Federal Minister of Public Services and Procurement, providing a copy of the city's motion.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so we're done reports. We're going to move to number 12, unfinished business. Pardon me? There is none. Oh, there is. Yeah, that's what I. There wasn't any addition from the meeting. Okay, unfinished business. Motions of Councillor Edwards. Oh.
Thank you, Worship. I am going to withdraw this motion. Do I need a seconder to do that?
Yep.
Do I need to read it out?
No, I'll just get the seconder and we'll withdraw it.
And I would like to, well, I guess can I talk on it? Or do I need to talk on it?
Once I get a seconder for you.
Okay.
Can you shut your light off and then put it back on once I get Councillor Miller to second it?
Yes, I'll second. Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Councillor Edwards.
Your Worship, I am withdrawing this motion at this time because of the proposal that came forward with Crescent Acres Ballpark. I think it's going to be a win-win for both organizations. I do know that the phase 2 of Crescent Acres is a pricey one, and then hopefully that can come forward, you know, someday soon. But phase 1 certainly is going to be a welcome addition for that organization.
Thank you. Okay, I'll prompt the question. It is open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move to your next motion. Do you have the same recommendation?
Go.
Counselor Edwards?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I have the same recommendation, although I still kind of agree with it. I'm going to withdraw it for this time.
Thank you. Seconder, Counselor Miller?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you. And no discussion I see on the board, so I will prompt the question. The question's now open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, then we'll move out of that. We'll move to number 13, Mayors and Councilors Forum. Is there anything to report? Oh, sorry. Councilor Brodnick?
Sorry, Councilor Miller.
No, sorry. It's whoever
well,
hits their button. It's
I know, it's just-
electronically done.
Usually we go around the room.
Oh, no.
I just have two quick ones. First,
Go ahead, sir.
one is very important, actually. I want to congratulate the MLA from Cumberland, Doyle Vermette. His
Yes.
third attempt in the legislature, a private member's bill, Bill 601, I do believe it was, the Saskatchewan Strategy for Suicide Prevention Act, finally got passed, and it was passed unanimously in the provincial legislature. So I want to thank Doyle Vermette for bringing this forward, for consistently bringing this forward, making this aware. Tristan DeRocher, who walked from La Ronge to Regina, walked through our city. I remember last summer I joined him in part of his walk in bringing awareness for a suicide prevention strategy for our province. And I want to congratulate the provincial government as well for finally all agreeing to a private member's bill, that this is something that is needed not only for the North but for the province. We have so many people that are young people that are losing hope and committing suicide. And if you look at the legislation, there's 5 or 6 key points of what needs to be done to stop this epidemic from happening. And so congratulations to Doyle Vermette, MLA for Cumberland, and to all members of the legislature for finally bringing this act forward. Second point is today, May 3rd, great historical event happened, 1915. Dr. John McCrae, he was a surgeon, operated, lost a buddy the night before, and sat in despair, and that's when he wrote his famous poem in Flanders Field. So that took place on this evening, May 3rd, 1915. So I just want to make the public aware of this very important historical event. He was Canadian surgeon. So thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Miller?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Dion. And as we know, community cleanups across the city have been launched today for everyone in our city to use. One site is St. Michael's Church, Exhibition Drive, East End Rink, and East Hill Rink. And that's for everyone to pitch in, even to go and clean the street that you live on or the block you live on. That will be great. It's open to all of the public.
Thank you. And what I do to encourage the public, if you're taking your half-ton and you're going to one of these sites, ask your neighbor, do you got a bag or two or an item you want to throw on? Because that's what this week is about, our community coming together and making our city beautiful again. So I encourage everyone to get out and clean up. I will ask Councilor Miller to just get up and just say the items that we don't accept so that people understand it, because we accept yard waste and quite a bit of things, but there's a couple items that we cannot accept. So Councilor Edwards, could you just shut your mic off for a minute so I can prompt Councilor Miller to answer my question, then I'll get you to put your light on. Thank you, Councilor Miller.
Yes, so we're not accepting tires this year, or we're not taking appliances, but at my site, we are taking appliances. I have a group that's doing a little bit of a fundraiser for themselves. And so at my site, there'll be a trailer sitting there that you can do that. And every site does have a metal container, so you can use, and it's for very small metal stuff, but,
Right. And the only other thing we don't accept is propane tanks.
right.
Or oil and paint, but we have a special day for that. We advertise that where we collect it at the city yards. So Councillor Edwards, do you want to put your light back on and I'll fire you up? Thank you for cooperating. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to make a shout out here to the Prince Albert Raiders coaching staff and management staff. The bubble is now concluded. And they were down there for an extended number of weeks there, and it was a tough grind, I think, for all. But I think they were all thankful that, they were allowed to play hockey and they were allowed to show their talents off. And it was great that the WHL was able to perform that and get through those weeks. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of kids, and I'll probably miss a couple, but I think maybe another councillor mentioned this, Dallin Pikakoot played for the Raiders this year. He's a Minto, grew up a couple of years with the Mintos here, so that's nice to see playing for the Raiders. Trey Fouquet, another, pardon? Yeah, and he's a local boy from Atakakoop there. So another one, Trey Fouquet, he is a Minto as well, got his opportunity with the Raiders this year. Got to demonstrate his skills. It's good that the younger kids got out there. Another boy here, Tanner Howell, playing for the Regina Pats. He grew up playing minor hockey in Prince Albert, so that was great. He got to play. And Braden Yeager, who is he grew up playing minor hockey in Prince Albert. They moved away a couple of years ago, but boy, they're looking pretty good playing for the WHL. So just a shout out to these guys.
Okay. And hearing no more, I'm going to move on, but I just have another comment here, if you don't mind, Councillor Edwards. I'm going to add on to one part that you missed. And this is very important. If you follow the rules and the regulations, you'll come on top like the Western Canada Hockey League, no COVID-19 cases. That's incredible when you think of the teams that were playing in Regina, but they kept to their bubble and they made sure their bubble was safe. And now Regina is excited about that because they're going to apply for more events because they've proven if you do listen to the health authorities and follow the rules that certain things are possible. So I'd like to congratulate the organizers in Regina and the Western Canada Hockey League because especially with them with having that third variance running wild, well, they were still playing. Kudos out to that organization for keeping the kids safe. Okay, with that, I'm going to move to inquiries. And maybe I'll start. I have two inquiries. Number one, to community services. And I'm going to ask them this because they said it would not happen. What are the plans to replace some of the missing animal that's on the walkway along the river along Riverside by the museum that we commissioned that shows our history? We did put some figures on top, and I asked if they would be safe, and I was assured they were. Well, some of them have now gone missing. So is there a plan to replace them? Is the director on for that?
Mayor Dion.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Dion, for the inquiry. Yes, so the replacement pieces that you've referenced that have went missing, those have currently been ordered and are due on arrival here any day. So upon arrival, we'll be reinstalling and making those repairs.
Okay, thank you. I hope to put on a better way that they stay, because I'm just worried that it's going to repeat itself.
Yes, absolutely. We've had a little bit of a revisit to how they've been installed.
Okay, thank you. Then my next comment is actually to Public Works. Do we have a plan when we do street sweeping or do we just let them out the gate and tell them to go? And the reason that I said that is I just can't understand why at 8:30 in the morning, we have street sweepers in our school zones. You know, our school zones are dangerous enough during that time. Parents are dropping off, picking up kids. And then we've got street sweepers in there, loaders and dump trucks. I just don't understand the scheduling. I would assume when we scheduled that we would know from 8 to 9, the kids are arriving from school and they're leaving from 3:30 to 4:30, that we would stay out of the cool zones. And it's similar comment about the bridge. Somebody said, why did they not do the west side of the bridge first instead of doing the east side? Because the west side brings in the in traffic. And the east side that was done first, and there was no traffic leaving the city, and it caused a little bit of a lineup coming to the city. And so then again, that's an issue about scheduling, and that's a good point. You know, when you're out there early in the morning, and I give you credit, you were out there early in the morning, but I agree with the caller that why didn't you do the west side first? Because the traffic from the north is coming in, but we did the other side. And then we were on the busy side during the rush hour morning traffic. So do we have somebody in the Public Works Department that does scheduling and planning to avoid all these events? Could the director answer that question? And then I'll go to Councilor Cody for his inquiry. Go ahead, Director.
Thanks for that question. Yes, the roadways manager does the scheduling for the sweeping program. Presently, we just started last Monday, and we're only presently doing the arterial and collector roadways. So I'm not sure which school zones were affected there, but they must have been on a arterial or collector roadway. But I can look into that. As likewise with the bridge, I could find out what exactly was the plan there, because I would have to agree with you, that would make most sense.
Yeah, like most people understand that we have to clean it, but there's a pattern, and just if we could do a little bit better, it would just make people happier.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm not exactly sure who this question is for, but what it is, there's an abandoned well crib along the Rotary Trail at Matts Avenue and just south of River Street. It's been there for many, many, many years. It's actually on private property, I believe. But what someone did in the city, they did a little cribbing around it with snow fence, but the kids are in there constantly playing. And what they did is they took the snow fence away, and you know, it's very dangerous. This is quite a good-sized crib well. So there could be a danger there. So if someone could just have a little peek at that and probably go to the person who owns the property and just give them a little warning, telling them either close it or we'll close it and put it on your taxes, because I think it's dangerous and we should have it removed.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually, when you submit your thing, I'm going to flag it to my office also, because this has been brought up a few times. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a silver Quonset curving coming out of the ground. And it is, we told them before to remove it immediately and put it on the person's taxes. And because I'll tell you this, even though it's on private property, if something happens there, we're liable because the city put up their barricades and our snow fence around it. So we're acknowledging that it's a hazard, and let's deal with that hazard and get it out. So I'll work with the city clerk to watch for it, and I'll make sure that the department gets on it. Any other inquiries?
Tara Lennox up here.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My inquiry is, will City Council and the public be provided a copy of the proposed contract agreement between Signature Development and the city regarding the proposal for the city to purchase 7 acres from Signature Development for additional parking?
Okay, I'll put that question forward. The city manager's not here, so we'll have to get back to you. Okay, thank you. Any other inquiries? No, hearing none. Inquiry responses. 15.1. Councilor Miller.
That April 12th, 2021 City Council meeting inquiry responses be received as for information and filed.
Thank you. Second? Thank you, Councilor Cody. I'll prompt the question. Okay. It is open. Councilor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. It passed unanimously. Thank you. So we're going to move on to number 16, notice of motions. Councilor Cody.
Yes, I have a notice of motion here that the community recycling drop-off area located at East End Rink on the corner of 12th Avenue and 4th Street East be removed immediately. And, Your Worship, I'd like this put on for debate tonight.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to make a motion that the City of Prince Albert set up a working group that focuses on homeless and substance abuse in our downtown area. This group will include members of council, the police commission, PAGC, Métis Nation, agencies that are currently working on addictions and homeless concerns in our city, as well as federal MPs and provincial MLAs.
Okay, thank you. And you all remember to turn copies in to your motions. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I have a notice of motion that I also want to have heard tonight, and it's 4 parts. Number 1, that the management committee be authorized to hire an independent engineer to inspect and report back on the conditions, findings, and recommendations on the city's bus fleet. Number 2, that the cost of the hiring of the independent engineer be funded through fiscal stabilization. Number 3, that the management committee recommendations be forwarded to City Council for consideration once the independent report is completed and reviewed. And number 4, that the management committee be authorized to engage the city solicitors to review all agreements, relative documents associated with the purchase, supply, and maintenance of the buses, and report back to the management committee to file a report to City Council. And I'll ask once we get to motions for that to be heard tonight. Okay, any other notices? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move into motions. How do I pass the chair? Okay, so I have to run the controls. That's kind of neat. Yeah, I'll pass. So if you want to turn your mic on, Councillor Cody, I'll make you alive, and I'll keep you alive. So, oh, sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Oxygen. Okay, my motion is, it's up on the board. I move it that administration charge a fine of parking on the sidewalks from $20 to $100 in the city's traffic bylaw. And when I get a seconder, I'll discuss it.
Do we have a seconder for the mayor's motion? Second.
Oh, sorry. You moved.
Moved by Councillor Edwards. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to.
Worship.
I've got quite a few calls about this in the positive way that they want to see the fine increased. And I've witnessed a few samples, and that's why I bring it up. In my area, we have a very small city boulevards in front of our driveways. And what happens, you get a car that parks in the driveway, and then someone comes and parks right behind it, and it blocks the sidewalk. And why I brought this motion forward is the $20 is not working. I have reported people, and they've been issued tickets. And I witnessed 2 events that really touched me and decided that I'd bring this motion forward. is I watched a little girl pushing her, she was babysitting, a little kid in a carriage, and she struggled to get it down the curb and around the car and back on the curb. Well, that's not acceptable. Come on, we got a car, we know how to park it. And then I seen a young boy come by my house with a wheelchair, and I actually went 2 doors down and knocked on the door and made them move their vehicle. But we shouldn't have to do that. Sidewalks are for pedestrians and not cars. And so lots of people think it's drastic that I'm asking to go from $20 to $100, but if you early pay it, it's only $50. And to me, it's just a natural bylaw because it's called respect. Streets are made for driving on and sidewalks are made for pedestrians. And I think we have to protect our most valuable, our young people, on our sidewalks, and that we shouldn't have to walk around obstacles like vehicles to go down the sidewalk. So that's why I brought the motion forward. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't think I'm going to support the motion. I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but I agree with everything you said, Your Worship. It definitely comes down to respect for sure. I think it is a problem that people park across the sidewalks without even thinking. But I'd really like to have some statistics prior to know that how many actual $20 tickets did we give out? And I bet you there's not too many of them. And I'm not sure why that's the case, but I bet you there's hesitation to give that $20 ticket out. And I think there'll be more hesitation to give a $100 ticket out. And so what I would like to see is actually some of those $20 tickets out before we move forward with this. And that's why I agree with everything you say, but I just don't think it's a price of a ticket problem. I think it's a ticketing problem. And I'd like to see that addressed first.
Well, I can just speak to my experience. When I have called, they come and they do write the tickets. But it is not a high priority to them. But if you do call, they will come and write the tickets. And so I appreciate that from them. And I compare this to when we did the disabled zones. When we took the fine from $20 to $350, it solved our problem. It solved the problem. We hardly issue a ticket now for anyone in a handicap zone because $350, you're going to stay away from that. Where a $20 ticket, you're going to spin the wheel. And so I do know that they do come when you phone them, but if they're busy, in most cases, I had to phone them back after waiting a while and to say that thank you for dispatching, but the car is left. And they said, sorry. But sometimes, when times were right, they did arrive to my property and write tickets for people that were parked on the sidewalk. But it's by the time they get dispatched there, in most cases, the vehicle's gone. So I was going to recommend that this be part of an education program that now that the fine's up, similar to what we did to protect the disabled people in their parking stalls.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, you're going to do the vote?
Yep, I'll prompt the vote. I'll prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
No.
Okay, the motion's defeated 4-3. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one. Councillor Zepp, you wanted to remove your motion. You're up next.
Yes, so I am proposing that this item be adjourned to the next meeting of City Council.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Miller?
Yes, I'll second. Thank you, Mayor Dion.
Thank you. And I'll prompt the vote. The vote is open. Councillor Zepp? Of course, is a yes. 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Motion carries. Accept the vote. Thank you. Now I'm going to move to the item of Councillor Cody wanted his motion to be heard. So what I need is, Councillor Cody, is I need you to make a motion to hear yours, to ask for leave, to hear a motion tonight. And you need 2/3, so you need 4? 5 votes. Okay? You're up, Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I move that pursuant to the provisions of the procedure bylaw number 26 of 2014, that the notice provisions be waived to permit consideration of Councillor D. Cody's motion regarding the removal of the recycling drop-off at East End Rink.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that, yes.
Thank you. Okay. I need you to shut your light. Oh, thank you. Now, how do I prompt the vote? Is it in? Oh, it's in. Thank you. So I'm going to prompt the vote. Right, this is just for the discussion. Yep, this is just for a discussion. Okay, the vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Way to go, Councillor Cody. Okay, so Councillor Cody, if you want to get up, we'll now move your motion.
Yes, I move that the community recycling drop-off area located at East End Rink on the corner of 12th Avenue and 4th Street East be removed immediately. And I'll wait for a seconder, then I'll have a few free remarks.
Thank you. If you just shut your light off, and then I can prompt your seconder, and then I'll come back to you. Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Cody, if you'd like to charge your light, and you're now live.
Yes, Your Worship, and fellow councillors and ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm doing this is that we have really a high concentration of waste material and contaminated material around that area. It's unbelievable when you go there and see the mess that's there. It isn't only a mess on certain days or on the weekend, it's a mess all the time. And our city workers go there almost once or twice a day and clean up boxes, tires. This morning they come, the very first thing they picked up was a mattress. That's a recycling spot. It's not a mattress spot. It's not a garbage place. It's not for leaves and branches. It's for recycling. And that's what they had to do. So as a result, all of those things are being thrown into the garbage bin and cardboard with it. So it's not the best way to do business. And the citizens in the area are getting really tired of the fact that they have to put up with this. One of the ladies across the road told me that she's been watching constantly in the last 6 months, and one day a guy just wanders around and drops a TV on her lawn. And I don't know if it's because she has been bugging him a bit or what the case may be, but you know, there's no reason for that kind of thing. And I think we should take them away, and we should put a good big sign up, take the fence away and all, and we should put a big sign up saying, recycling is done at the MRF on 40th Street.
Yes.
That's where this recycling is done in this community. And it's really no further to go there than it is here. I talked to one of the citizens today when I'm sitting there, and he was good enough. He put his recycling proper, put some garbage in, and he said, I normally go to the MRF with this. So it's not a hardship for them, and it would really be helpful for the community, and I think it would beautify the place, and I think it's the right way to go.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I support this motion 100%. It's gross down there on certain days, and it's a shame when, you know, you have hockey teams coming in to play at that arena, coming from out of town, and that's what they see, and it's a terrible sight. And the best part of our city is anywhere in our city, and probably 12 minutes now that we're growing a little bit. It's up from 10. And so I agree that, you know, move these things to the MRF, but we got to educate the public on where the heck that is. Let's put some signs up. This even goes for the recycle. I think it's on 38th that I was talking about in the inquiries. There's a recycling area there, and it's always a disaster, especially in the busy times. If we've got a fenced compound like the MRF, I think that all of it should go there. Add some bins and let's do it.
Okay, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple questions over those. I can't agree more. I drive by there a couple times, there are several times throughout the last couple of months, and it's always overflowing. I always wonder, when are we going to dump those bins? My always automatic question as I drive by that. And I suspect Councillor Cody has received a lot of calls because I've seen at least one correspondence through our general inquiry line. So I know residents are having issues with that. I guess the question I have is, why did we put them in there in the first place? What triggered the need for them to be there? And I guess what happened to that vision? Why were they there in the first place? Because I suspect at some point there was a decision saying it's a need, it's a criteria, and they need to be put there. So I don't know the history behind that, but I hear the points of other councillors here.
Yeah, well, some of the history, we actually used to have them in 3 or 4 other locations, but they all fell aside to the same thing that happened at this site, that they were abused so much. I think the last one we removed was at Crescent Heights. We had bins there in that parking lot. We removed them for the same reason. And it's disappointing, because it's a great service, the recycling to our community. But at the same time, it can be all dealt with at the MRF, so that's why I'll be supporting the motion as well. Okay, no more comments. I'll prompt the question.
Chair.
Well, go ahead, Tara.
Levesque here.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So according to our website, it indicates that we currently have 6 locations across the city that offer these recycling larger bins. And some of them are residential, and one is the MRF and one is 38th Street. Obviously, if there is a problem with the overflowing, and I take no issue with that, then I would hope that we would want to try to still provide that service somewhere. Here's a couple of points I wanted to raise. One is that tonight we've talked about wanting to avoid filling up our landfill unnecessarily, and ways that we could try to avoid that. If residents, if these recycle bins are overflowing frequently, and I understand the point, it's not always recycling. Sometimes the inappropriate items are being left, and that's another issue too. However, if we are getting lots of cardboard and recycling items there, if we take that location away, I would assume that many residents of the area will then just be putting those recycling items into garbage dumpsters, because it's easier than hauling it to a new location or taking it up to the MRF. They must be using these cardboard bins. We could inadvertently end up with more items into the landfill. Secondly, it's a service that we provide to our citizens. And so if it's determined that this is not the right location for it, I would hope that we would look into the future at another location that could be more controlled, that is a better location. And perhaps if this is a location that's being used frequently and getting bins filled up daily, maybe it's worth the effort having our employees go to this location even more frequently than they are now. And I've heard in the discussion that our employees are already going there frequently, but maybe it's worth our long-term effort of keeping our landfill less filled and promoting more recycling. Maybe it's worth the effort to have more employee intervention and attendance there and doing the emptying. Now, for the issue of inappropriate items being left, that's obviously an issue. And so I would hope that maybe we could come up with ideas on trying to change that behavior, or, as I said, still keep 6 locations in the city to encourage more recycling, but maybe change the location. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Zepp?
No.
Okay. It's carried 5-2. So I accept the vote. Thank you. Now I'll pass the chair again to Councillor Cody. And
Your motion?
I'll make the motion that pursuant to the provisions of the procedure bylaw of 26 of 2014, that the notice provision be waived to permit consideration of Mayor G. Dion's motion regarding hire an independent engineer to inspect and report regarding the city's fleet of buses.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion.
No, there is no discussion. Sorry, Don.
Oh, this is the.
This is
right?
for
Okay.
Lee. Okay, so I'll prompt the vote. The vote is open. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. So I'll close the vote, and I'll give it back to you, Councillor Cody, and I'll make the motion. Oop. Okay.
Your motion?
Okay. I move that the management committee be authorized to hire an independent engineer to inspect and report back on the conditions, findings, and recommendations of the city's bus fleet. Number 2, that the cost of the hiring of the independent engineer be funded through fiscal stabilization. Number 3, that the management committee recommendations be forwarded to City Council for consideration once the independent report is completed and reviewed. And number 4, that the management committee be authorized to engage the city solicitor to review all agreements, relative documents associated with the purchase, supply, maintenance of the bus, and report back directly to City Council, directly back to the management committee for, and I got to add this, a recommendation to City Council.
Is there a seconder?
Do I have to say it now? I'll second that.
You?
I can say it again.
Seconded by Councillor Edwards. Is there any discussion? Mayor Dion.
As you know, if you heard in the media and you've heard, the buses have been an issue, and we got three-way finger pointing, and this is a big expense that the city took on, and I think it's prudent as us as elected officials to get an independent report on the situation, the issues, and then at that time when we get that report, the council can decide on how we move forward. So I ask for everyone's support because this is a big investment for our city.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I definitely support this. I think it's an absolute necessity. I'll get that out.
It's the end of the day.
To move forward with this motion. And I think the critical part of this motion is the management committee is guiding this. I do believe that that's critical because I think that there's been some mistakes occurring with some communications that are occurring in between some departments and First Bus and the manufacturers of this. I think there's supposed to be a bus, I'm not sure. These buses are flawed. I think the independent engineer will certainly come up with a report that we see that. It's not going to be difficult in my eyes. I look forward to the report, and I look forward to pushing back on pushing back on the manufacturers, Grand West.
Is there any further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Ogrodnik.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know who's to blame. All I know is that we spend a lot of money on busing, public transit in the city, whether it be our regular runs or special needs. We're spending a lot of money, and we need to have these buses on the road. It's unacceptable to have well, not brand new, they're 3 years old now, but they should be looking brand new
Brand
buses, sitting with cracked frames, is what we heard, and not running. And I support this motion that we need to look at what's the problem here. Was it maintenance or was it manufacturer? Who's to blame? And then we need to rectify the situation. And most importantly, we need to get our transit back in operation in a normal fashion, so that the people that rely on transit can get to the places that they need to get to. And so I support this and look forward to the recommendations coming to this body, City Council, so that we can make the decision. I know Management Committee is going to be directing it and making the recommendations, but ultimately it's us that will make the final decision on what to do about the buses in Prince Albert. Or lack of buses in Prince Albert.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, sorry, I got a little tongue-tied in my last statement there about pushing back on First Bus. That's not what I meant. I'm looking forward to pushing back on the manufacturers of these buses. These are 3-year-old buses with major issues. And I certainly can respect some of the issues that are occurring from the people that are trying to repair this and the frustrations that they're going through as well. So I certainly believe that once we see that report back, we're going to be pushing back.
Might I just make one small comment?
Go ahead.
I noted that in Mr. Hicks' comments that he said that he had already spoken to an independent. That's awfully good of him, having done that, but I do not want that independent tainted in any way by any one of the parties. So I think the independent should be, number one, interviewed by the Management Committee. The number two, we should give them the terms of reference. And number three, no one out of the three parties should speak to the independent prior to the Management Committee having spoken to them and got the terms of reference that we need. And I do not want to in any way say that Mr. Hicks would in any way do anything untoward. I have no reason to say that. But I think it's too easy when persons are involved right at the start of it, that things can happen that way and there can be swaying. So I'd like to see this independent person not speak to any one of the three parties prior to having spoke to the Management Committee.
Well, if this motion passes, and by the sounds of it, it will, that'll be the first email that I send out tomorrow, is to the city manager and the department heads, that this is a total project of the Management Committee and City Council, and that they're the only ones that will engage and speak to anyone, just not the engineer, anyone, until this exercise is completed. So, and that's why I put it in there, and that's why I also report directly back to the Management Committee. So there's no misunderstanding who's overseeing this independent review.
Is there any further discussion?
Okay, I'll prompt the question for you, Don. Okay, Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
This passes unanimously. Thank you. And close the vote, and I accept the vote, and thank you for your support. And Management Committee will work hard to get to the bottom of this issue. With that, we have no public forum speakers, and we'll need somebody new because our regular person is gone. So, Councillor Head, move to adjourn. Second, Councillor.
I thought Councillor Edwards had a motion as well coming forward. I thought it was a great motion. Are you asking for leave before we adjourn? I wasn't sure. No.
No,
Okay.
he would have already had to ask for leave during the process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So what happened? Oh, did you move the adjournment too? And Councillor Cody, did you second it? Council Cody seconded. All in favor? Hey, we're adjourned.
Yes.
Oh,